Hello.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you?
Okay. My name is Jeffrey Breslow. I'm in Chicago, and I'm delighted to be talking with you.
Yeah, I'm Ricardo Jimenez, calling in from Puerto Rico. Was here last night from New York after cancellations and delays, but very happy to be in the call.
It
So
worked
it
out.
looks like I will start with a question or two. It
Sure.
looks like you've been in the toy business for a very long time, right?
41 years.
Was there, I guess that's when you were a kid that you started with toys. Was there a particular idea that you had? Did you like the industry for a reason? How did
I
you
can,
end up with this?
I can be very quick about it. I was an industrial designer, and we did all kinds of things, and we did a toy project, and I was kind of hooked on that. And the thing about design school is it's jury graded, so it wasn't one instructor, but four or five that graded your projects. And I came in second, and I had never come in second in anything in my life before. And I was very delighted. And the guy who came in first had a little blue box with a buzzer and a little probe, and ultimately that ended up turning into the operation game. But I said, "What are you going to do with that?" And he told me, and blah blah blah. And then I fell in love with the idea of trying to be a toy designer. And it took me 2 years to get an interview uh, with Marvin Glass. And then I ultimately got interviewed and became a partner and ended up running the company. So it was 41 years. It was a wonderful career.
And you do toys and you do games, right? You've done everything.
Toys, games, dolls, and then what we did is we were able to move out into other products. We did the Mickey Mouse phone. We weren't in the phone business, but one of my partners had the idea, and we figured out how to make it and ended up licensing it to a phone company. So we didn't just do one sort of thing. We could do everything. And I think that was the strength of the company is that we could do anything we wanted. If you were a designer for Milton Bradley, you were just doing games. If you were a designer for Fisher Price, you were just doing children's toys. But we had the ability to pretty much do anything, which made it quite successful for us.
And was there, if there was a characteristic or feature or something that would make your toys stand out, what do you think that would be?
Well, I think we did everything. I mean, there wasn't, we did plush, we did electronics, we did the Simon game. So we moved when things were changing. So we really, there wasn't anything we couldn't do. And we had an abundance of clients. So we could only serve about 15, 20 clients. We couldn't service everybody. We didn't have that many ideas. So we were very selective about who we ended up licensing to. And that was the kind of the genius of Marvin Glass. He tried to manufacture toys. He kept losing money and said, "I don't want to do that anymore." And he looked at the book business. He looked at the record business and said, "I want to do that in the toy business. I want to show a client ideas. And if he likes it, pay me in advance and pay me royalty." So he did that in the late 50s. So that was pretty new at that time. But that's how it is today. So
But maybe that would have been a great way for me. And I think, and I'll share out my toy idea. I tried to do so. I'll explain. I started a toy company. We did toys in the shape of countries for kids to learn about the world from their point of view of play and education. And we manufactured 12,000 toys. And we always assumed that we're going to build the product and then the customers will come. And they never came, or I was never able to find them. And we built logistics with a distribution center in at near LA and another one near London. So we built the infrastructure of, let's say, a small to like geared for growth, but the growth didn't happen. Of course, it's always easier to give the idea to someone that can, I guess, manufacture, execute, carry on the costs, and just receive that paycheck. Um, I don't know what are when you hear about my idea that didn't work. Very often, people ask me, yeah, why did it not work? Like, why did you not succeed? Does anything come to mind that I could have done different?
well, I mean, when you tell me you did toys in the shape of countries, these
Mhm.
were plush toys or cardboard
Yes.
toys?
plush toys.
So now I have a plush toy in the shape of the United States,
Yes.
and I have a shape toy in the shape of another country.
Uh-huh.
And what is the young person supposed? And how old are the kids that would want to
So
play?
the purpose, so they had names and they were characters. The idea you could see is that they would have a friend from a different country. We also had flashcards and we had a passport, so you would collect. Uh, you have your collection of friends from over the world. But the idea is to awaken curiosity in kids about the world through having a friend from a different country. That was the goal.
I mean, I don't know that I would have taken that idea and built a whole company based on that idea. I mean, what we did in our company, we generated about 400 or 500 ideas every year that we worked on. It had a job number and everything else. Okay, 400 or 500 ideas. Okay, we probably built prototypes on 150. We probably showed 30, 40 to clients. And we ended up with 5 or 6 that paid for everything. Okay. So one idea, okay, to us was not that important. Okay. We never looked at ideas from the outside. Never. When a box came to our place, we sent it back. So all I'm saying is that the idea, there's two types of ideas. Okay. One is how you execute the idea. Okay. And the other is the pure idea. And everything is a mix. I'll give you a pure idea, a hula hoop, okay? Anybody could have made that hoop, a little bigger, a little smaller. It didn't really make any difference, okay? That was a pure idea. The execution was not as important. One of my partners came up with the idea for Rock'em Sock'em robots. Get 2 robots in a ring, have them box, and knock a head up. That idea is not very important, okay? It's how you made it that made that a very successful toy. So my point is, it's a combination of idea and execution somewhere in between. I gave you 2 extreme examples, but
Mhm.
but you can't fall in love with your own idea, and maybe that's what you did. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
you thought it'd be great
That,
for
that,
kids learning about it, people in other countries. If you told me that idea when I was running the company, I would have said, I don't think so. Make a mock-up and let me see what it looks like. We never, we never tested anything with children. Okay, never. Okay, if it entertained us and made us happy and we got excited about it, we made it. Okay, but I mean, I can give you examples. No company tested stuff. Okay, Steve Jobs didn't test anything. He said, I'm going to make the most fantastic product and you're going to buy it. He didn't ask anybody if they would. But, Barbie, okay, if Ruth Handler tested that with mothers, they would have thrown her out. They said, I never buy that for my daughter. Never. Rubik's Cube. Nobody's going to solve it. Okay, too difficult. Terrible idea. Okay. So testing doesn't do anything. It has to entertain you in some way. And if it entertained me and entertained my partners and designers, we had a shot at it. That's all.
okay, I got that. So yeah, in part I didn't test, but so I didn't test because I thought the test would never be conclusive for the exact same reasons that you're describing. But it looks like you were testing it with yourself, the idea, right?
You know, I, I mean, if it entertained us and made us laugh and have a good time, maybe it would do that for kids. We knew when we did Simon in the mid 70s, okay, it was tied up to a very simple Apple computer. And we had 4, it wasn't round, it was square, and it did exactly what it did. You followed it, buzzed it. And we knew that we had something at that time. You don't always know that. You think you got a great idea and it bombs, okay? But Simon was at the right time at the right place with the right product, and as a result, it still sells. It was an enormous success for us. It kind of teased the player. It was a memory game. It sped up when you started. It had all these things that we were laughing when we were making it. And so we felt very comfortable. Now you can feel that way about something, and it doesn't work. You know, but everything we built, I told you, it just things fail, just does. I mean, if you could test something, you would test a movie, you would test you know, uh, you know, Cabbage Patch, ugly doll, never sell. All the smart doll people turned it down. Coleco made it. They never made a doll in their life. They said, well, it's kind of cute. I don't know, you know. So so the experts all passed on that, and it was a gigantic success. Not ours, Cabbage Patch, but mothers were fighting out in the front of the store to get in line to buy it. I mean, stuff happens. Yeah.
So yeah, so you mentioned, so yeah, I guess I fell in love with the idea. I did everything that I could to make it happen, and after 6 years, I realized many things. But one of them is that we need to be careful with falling in love with an idea, because ideas are just ideas, and sometimes letting them go in a way means accepting that doesn't fail. And we tend to think that because something or a project failed, we also fail as people. And I think that's what makes it very hard for people to accept defeat, because it's not about the thing. It feels personal, like I failed. What are your thoughts on why is it too hard to admit that something didn't work, and what do you think about failure?
Was fall in love with an idea, okay, and you can't you can't do that. I mean, you can't fall in love with one idea and say this is a great idea and this is what it's going to do, because it always surprises you. I mean things happen that you can't count on, and uh, you know so we because we had so many ideas, okay, and we had 400 or 500 ideas in a year that we logged in a book and said, okay, we're starting on this, we're starting work on it. And the next day we looked at it and said, you know what, that's a terrible idea. Let's not work on that. I mean, so you have to generate lots and lots and lots of ideas, and ideas that somebody may have thought of before, maybe not. Maybe you were doing it a new way, but but in my experience, some of the most successful products are products that you would have said, that's a terrible idea, okay? Ugly doll won't sell. Barbie looks like a hooker. Your mother's going to never buy that doll, okay? I mean, there's so many like that. Trivial Pursuit, too
Mhm.
expensive. Question and answer game, too expensive. Rubik's Cube, $10 for a puzzle. Puzzles are $2, and nobody can do it. Never sell. Happens, you know. I mean, it's a fascinating. I mean, I did it for 41 years. I loved it every day, but it's built on failure. That's all.
So how do you, I think you were saying, so what's your test? So you play with it and see if it entertains you, or how would you decide this could actually work?
Well, there's no way to deciding that it's going to work. Okay, there are certain things that are important, and it's cost, price, value. What's the competition? What else is in the store? All these things affect it, because there's way more things in the store than you can possibly do. And we started this in the age of television. So now we're not selling to parents anymore. We're selling to kids. And the kid says, Mom, I want this. Okay. That I just saw it on TV. I want that. I want that. I want that. So we were working. So we had to put something on the table that looked good on television. Okay. We were selling a prop. Okay. Now to children. And that was because of Mattel. Mattel bought the Mickey Mouse Hour, and they started advertising toys to children, not the parents. So you got to understand how the audience changes, who you're selling to, what else is on the shelf. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Any big failures for you? Let's talk
What's that?
about any big failures and
Guy
a
comes
big
into my
one.
guy comes into my office, okay, and he says there's this underground comic. These guys up in New Hampshire. He said maybe it'll make a great toy. I said he said it's kind of weird. I said okay. He said there's 4 turtles that stand on their hind legs, okay, and they're trained by a sewer rat in New York, okay? And one is Michelangelo, but it's Mickey. One is Donatello. And I said, it sounds terrible. You're telling me these 4 turtles of Renaissance artists, okay, with nicknames. Terrible idea, okay? So I never pursued it, and you know what happened with Mutant Ninja Turtles, okay? So my judgment and my experience said that to this guy, and we never bothered following up with it. I mean, so failure is a huge part of it. But
I would, yeah,
the
yeah, I was
idea
gonna say,
you
is it
came
really
into,
failure? Is it
what's
really
that?
failure, or no? Is it really because when you just said failure, it's part of it. That what came to my mind was, is it really failure? It's just part of the game. So you
It's
cannot know.
totally part of the game. Totally part of the game. I mean, when he told me the idea that these turtles stood upright and were trained by a New York sewer rat, I said that's a terrible idea. Okay, and it took playmates. Okay, to make it. And Mattel wouldn't have made it. Nobody would have made that. Ideal, all the companies wouldn't have made it. Playmates said, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they said. Okay, but obviously they saw something in there that nobody else saw. Okay, I can fill 10 books with failures. Okay,
So what
it,
will be
it
the lesson then of the 10 books? What will be one or two lessons?
well, I think the most important lesson is not to fall in love with your own idea. Okay, and I think it sounds like not knowing your product or anything. You imagine this would make kids understand things in other countries, and I'm not sure what you did. Okay, but if you came to me with that idea, I would say toys serve different purposes. Okay, toys and games are two different things. Toys for young kids are selfish things. They don't want somebody else playing with their toy when they're 2 and 3 years old. Okay, it's a selfish process. Later on, games are very important. It teaches you how to win. It teaches you how to lose gracefully. It teaches other things. But most toys are a reflection of the adult world. Babies and dolls for girls, cars, that sort of thing for boys. I mean, we didn't do Hot Wheels, but we did Crisscross Crash, which was huge. We thought kids want to crack up cars. That's so we made a cloverleaf intersection where these little cars crack into each other, and so we said, boy, that's great. You crack up the cars, and it turned out to be a huge success for us. And even though we didn't do Hot Wheels, we worked on we did a number of very successful Barbie products, mechanical Barbies, talking other things. So we worked on other brands that were successful already. Yeah.
Okay. So what any can you tell us about your book? In your book, do you tell all these stories?
I do. I'm,
I
you know,
think
I'm, I'm proud of the fact, not proud, but I'm accepting of the fact that I can look at something and think it's terrible, and somebody looks at it and says it's fantastic, and it turns out to be fantastic. I mean that was the fun of it for me. Okay, the other fun of it was that we were in a business where we wouldn't lose a client. Okay, you're in the advertising business, you're a big advertising firm, and you got one company that's 25% of your business. Okay, they come to you one day and say, well, we're trying another agency. What did I do wrong? Well, nothing, we're just trying. Nobody came to us and said, we're not going to buy from you anymore. We always had customers. you know I mean, and we couldn't satisfy all the customers because there's a desperate need for new toys every year. It just happens. Most of them don't make it you know so that was kind of part of the challenge, part of the fun, part of the excitement. uh, and then I left it, to become a full-time sculptor, and now I'm back in the toy business again, which I thought I would never be. And
you never know, right?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, you never know. So when I close this, I think it's very hard to start things that, let's say, that demand a lot of you and that are very risky. But it also takes a lot to close the chapter and open up to the magic of not knowing what's next and being more trusting in the future and betting on the future rather than on something that doesn't work. But it looks like you're going from something that's exciting to something that's exciting as well, right?
Well, most artists, I mean, I have lots of sculptures here that nobody's buying. Okay. I mean, I, I've had some very good success, but you can fill this whole place with things that I make sculpture but I'm making them for myself. Okay. I'm artists do that for themselves. They do that because they're driven to do something. Okay, and most artists aren't successful. I couldn't make a living on my sculpture today, but I love doing it. You know, I mean, Van Gogh never sold a painting in his whole life, not one painting for $2, and now one painting sells for $150 million. Or I mean, but art art is very unusual. I mean, art is what you put on the wall. Okay, a little kid makes a drawing. Okay, and he puts it on the refrigerator with magnets. It becomes art. It changed. You do a painting and you put a frame around it. Now it's art. Before it was just a painting. Before it was just a little drawing. It is transformed into that. Okay. If I have a sculpture here, unless I put it on a stand and present it, it's still just a piece of bronze or a piece of something else. But that's what people do art for. Not to become rich and famous and everything. They're driven. And maybe you are like that with your product.
Yeah, I relate a lot. So when I talk about the reasons for my book, one was to express or organize my experience, and the second part is because I think that there was an audience that the old me. There's a lot of companionship to entrepreneurs. But if we go to the original, to the company itself, to this idea of toys in the shape of countries, I felt that this is what I want to express, and I felt myself maybe more. It came from a place of being an artist, meaning self-expressing. That the origin was this is what I want to put out there in the world, rather than what like how I'm rather than the origin was me, rather than the market is what I'm trying to say. I think that's the difference between an artist and a business person, and I probably erred a little bit on the side of it. This is what I want to put out there in the world, and that's what happened. Okay, I don't know if we are over. Any last thoughts? It looks like we're over the 20-minute mark.
It's okay. I mean, this is fun for me talking to you. I mean, uh, this was a huge part of my life, and I'm back in it again. At my age.
So what are you doing now? What's so exciting that you're back in the toy business?
We have a game that's called Pickle Everything. Okay, it's based on the popularity of pickleball. Okay, pickleball, the fastest growing sport we've ever had in our country. I mean, 50 million players, but there's probably 100 million people who know somebody who plays pickleball. Okay, it's taken over. So my idea was to do a pickleball card game. Okay, but I started dealing with the rules, and nobody cares about the rules, who invented it. So it's a word game. Okay, as you can play without knowing anything about pickleball, but we're using pickleball as a way to get into it. So it's a deck of cards, and basically it's a word game. You read a clue, okay, and the other two players or three players have to guess, like a crossword, what the answer is. And the answers all begin with the letter P, okay? So, and then you say pickle afterwards, okay? That's the game. So it's actually quite funny, okay? So if I clue, the doctor told this woman not to play for the next 9 months because she is, and the answer is pregnant pickle. Okay, that's the answer. She's pregnant. Okay, it's playing off pickleball, but you don't have to know anything about pickleball. It's just a word game. That's all. So now we have a deck that's a foodie deck. It's all foods that begin with P. You have this round shaped thing with cheese and pepperoni, and you got to say before somebody else, pizza pickle. Okay, So, but I'm in the manufacturing business. I'm making the decks. That's all.
Well,
and now we
fun stuff.
got a sports deck, we got a kids deck, and we're moving on from there. That's all.
Okay. Well, good luck with that, and maybe we'll do we'll continue. We'll do a second episode.
I'll send you some decks. You can see the cards.
Yeah, I want to play that. Maybe we'll play together. Well, that was fun. Yeah, great to connect with you, Jeff. All the best with the game pickle everything. Huh?
Right.
Ciao.
Take care.
You too. Bye.